sad. It's sad. You think you're doing a great thing. You think you're doing a great thing. You believe wholeheartedly that this is a great company. They're helping you out. They're helping the foundation that you believe in.
And welcome back to another episode of the Convoluted podcast. Actually, the final episode of this season. Thank you for joining us. And for always, who is joining me today?
Me, your favorite.
Yes, Liz is joining us today. Liz, how have you been? Been a while since we recorded. We've had another hectic month. We are fortunate that we remembered that this is the anniversary, 7 years in the making, 7 years of this podcast, and we are going strong into season 8. We will be taking about a roughly 2-week break, even though we've been taking a lot of breaks this past year earlier.
It was unplanned, man. It was unplanned.
Yeah,
it's almost literally unplanned.
Literally, yeah. One was literally unplanned. We'll talk more. We have some bonus episodes for those, so you'll see probably another 1 or 2 that you'll get in between, probably before season 8 starts. So look forward to that. But Liz, how have you been?
Yeah, I've been tired. We definitely been hitting the ground running since July started, literally. So, yeah, I've had some quite adventures. I got the COVID again. Of course, I was none of my family. It was none of me involved. It was always my family who brings it to me. So,
and you're the one that works in that field.
I know that was a fucked up part. It's like I work in the field and I have more potential to be exposed to it than anybody else, and I don't. Let's see. Well, yeah, we had a crazy end of the June. Then I got COVID, and then we went to Vegas. It was a surprise, unintended first time for Jesus, but it was fun. Nonetheless, we had a great time. I hope we had a great time. Did you have a good time?
Well, people will find out in the bonus episode, so they can listen to that.
Yes. And then I worked a lot of nights, and now I'm celebrating somebody's birthday. So here's to 14 and many, many, many more years to follow through. So
nice. All right, then we're gonna kind of jump into
what
it.
About you?
Okay. No, you're fine. It's just gonna be a longer episode if we not get started. Just a kind of quick recap. It's like you said, it's been a hectic month. Little unsurprising things. Pretty smooth. It's just trying to kind of get through this summer. Just trying to get through chores. I say that getting through chores. Had that mini vacation. Bonus episode for the Vegas. You'll learn what Vegas was for us in that. And then what else? Kind of really it. There's been a lot of things happening, but not a lot of things. It's like a lot, but not a lot. Kind of that mentality.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, in that nature. So for anyone who listens to my reviews on Reaction Cast, I have 2 reviews in pre-production that I haven't released. So for those who listen to those, my Superman and Fantastic Four reviews, they have just been delayed just because I've been so busy. They are recorded. They just need to be cleaned up and uploaded. So you'll be hearing or watch, whatever you do, you listen or watch. They'll be up in the next couple days, for sure. So you'll hear my thoughts on Superman and Fantastic Four. So look forward to those. But that's kind of it. That's kind of it for my week. So Liz, I have a big question for you. Have you ever heard of tea?
No, I have not.
So, for those who know, this is an interesting name for an app. Tea, in the terms of meme culture, is like you have the tea on someone. You have the gossip. So Liz,
Yeah, I've heard that.
So yeah. But I'll let you read the article of what we're about. endure with the T app?
He was supposed to be the game changer for women in the dating world. A private, ID verified app where app users could anonymously flag men for toxic, abusive, or dangerous behavior. It marketed itself as a safe space. Think Yelp for dates, but with trauma and red flags. Women could log details about bad encounters, share warnings, and check up on someone before meeting in person.
So just starting that doesn't sound like a bad thing. That as as a woman, what do you think of this app? Just hearing that.
That's great, for somebody who wants to get back out dating, and it's hard dating. I've had my fair share of bad dates, and honestly, it's like it would have been nice to be like, hey, would it have been worth it to about this person? Would it have been great? Sure. Yeah.
All right, I'll continue the article. So at launch, he was hailed as empowering, but soon the cracks showed. Even before the hack, the app walked a dangerous ethical tightrope. Posts included men's names, social handles, cities, accusations that ranged from genuine red flags to emotional charged revenge. Some were serious claims: abuse, stalking, coercion. I think that's how you pronounce it. Others were clearly uh, pettier, ghosting, cheating, or being emotionally unavailable. Screenshots and anecdotes circulated of users admitting that they got even with exes or post stories just to warn other girls, regardless of truth or verification. The app had minimal moderation and offered no appeals process. There was no way for the accused to respond, challenge, or even know they'd been posted. So just
Then came the breach.
so before we talk about the breach, so now that's interesting because yeah, it starts off with the concept of a women only app to be able to give women like, hey, yeah, that guy, he's these are kind of his flaws, right? That sounds okay. Like
Mhm,
some of his quote red flags, right? Which is nice. We
mhm.
used to play a game called Red Flags on the show. That was a fun, goofy things. I maybe we should bring it back. That was a fun game, but we need more people for that.
That was a
We,
fun game.
we
That
need
was fun.
people for. Let's see. We'll try to see. Maybe season 8 we'll have some. We'll bring back some of the games. Um, but then the way that it was being misused by posting potentially uh misinformation or defamatory thing against men for getting even, that seems like it's a pot that's about to spill over. What are your thoughts, Liz?
Absolutely great. I mean, you're stirring it. It definitely is going to overflow at some point, right? Enough
So
momentum.
would young you have posted about a bad ex on this was around, like a bad
No, I
ex?
don't think so. No, no. I didn't have any real bad exes until somebody, yeah. Anyways, um, no, I don't think I would have posted anything. I think because honestly, I wasn't you met these people online. You have no idea what you're really gonna get yourself into, right? Right. So it's an interesting one. So I don't think I've ever encountered a bad situation, thankfully, except for one, and but that was actually meeting somebody in person and not having we never met on the dating app. So that's a thing you never know, right? So,
So some of the things I was looking into is a lot of these were people who finally met in person or were dating in person, and then they just posted them on this app without their
mm,
consent. So they were just posting like basically they were just doxing them and just kind of giving free reign for people. Um, which that in itself, spreading that level of misinformation, saying someone is potentially an abuser or a stalker, that can be that can lead to some huge defamation and can be harmful. Mostly when you have no way to defend yourself because you don't even know if you're on this app, right? Because it's women's only
mhm.
app. So if someone's like posting something, just say like about myself that I like beat women, like I wouldn't know, and then if someone were to meet me in real life, because if they knew I was in the area, they would think that, right? So that could lead to some horrible ramifications, which could even is some of the things that are being posted could would be illegal in certain parts of Europe. Um, so yeah, due to their privacy laws. Um,
Hmm.
but it's only currently in the U.S. But then, like you said, a breach happened. So back mid July, or actually, we're still at the time of this recording. It's in July. Hackers stole over 1,300 users. Oh no, 13,000.
13,000.
Oof, 13,000 users uploaded images. You their government ID, profile photos, and accounts link data, and dumped them on 4chan. It always has to be 4chan. This wasn't a passive link, it was a weaponized. Forum users were encouraged to find the liars. Ooh. Expose the women behind the fake claims and launch a digital manhunt. I'll keep reading. Uh, the app that was built to hold men accountable now exposed women for the very threats they feared: doxing, stalking, harassment. Some of the same women who used T to protect others were now publicly identified, unmasked by the infrastructure they had trusted. Their vulnerability, meant to empower, has turned against them. What are your thoughts before we continue?
That's crazy. Well, I mean, it's sad, but some of these women are actually being truthful about some of these situations and probably trying to forewarn people, but then they get like criticized. Like that's that's kind of disheartening because you want to say, "Hey, I want to warn about that." If I could warn about my ex, that'd be great.
Yeah, because
So.
that's what it's meant. It's supposed to kind of give an idea to anyone else who wants to potentially, like, oh, this person in this area, if you see them, yeah. Uh they were like this, that, and there, but these were some of their red flags. But then, like you said, like some the ones who were using it um like correctly, it's the ones who were using it maliciously that hurt it for the rest of the people, basically.
Mhm.
Those who I'll let you continue reading.
Tech journalists and commentary YouTubers jumped in quickly. Omni's breakdown in Don't Download the T app framed the breach as a perfect storm of ethical good intentions and startup level negligence. Mojak's viral video, the fucked around and found out, mocked the irony and recklessness of the launching of safety app without building safety into its backend. The founders issued a PR statement. We take privacy very seriously. We are investigating the incident. Quote. Translation, we fumbled badly.
Okay. So their security to their app security was not as safety as what they wanted to do originally, uh to help women, right? Like, yeah, the app is meant to protect women from potential bad partners, to then the app being used to kind of attack men, to then people going into hack, and then you attack the women that attack the men potentially. So it's a basically a fuck around and find out FAFO, basically. That's a good shirt, actually. Um
I think it does exist.
but yeah, let's see here. Are we? So this sits the T site sits at an intersection of multiple controversies: a mass doxing event, an app that may have enabled defamation under the guise of empowerment, the user base that blurred the lines between warning and revenge, and the tech culture that launched the first and asked ethical questions later. Okay, so yeah, let's kind of boil this down. So, what are your thoughts, Liz? We can kind of talk these one by one.
um, yeah, definitely. I think. they should have had, like kind of really had somebody background check some of this stuff. I mean, like, there's always background checks, right?
So there was one. So for say you wanted to use the T app, right? For you to be able to get online, you would have to post a photo of yourself and upload your government ID. That's
Yeah.
to make sure that you are a girly being able to so no men allowed, right? So you would have to do that. That's
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That would have been like sus for me. Like, why would I want to do that? Like that is risking it entirely. Like, it's crazy to think about that. So,
Which
I
for the
don't
most part,
know.
that's not a bad
I
thing.
understand that you want to prove that you're a woman, but at the same time, easy to hijack somebody's photo and my girlfriend's ID is right here or my ex's ID is right here. I'll just take a picture of that, use her photo. Be great.
Potentially, that could have been a way. That's not an impossible way to kind of get around the regulations, right? Then the app that okay, so the next part was the max doxing. Yeah. So the whole thing about well, it's double doxing, right? One is the actual breach of the users, right? Releasing all the accounts that potentially used the app maliciously to um basically defame or dox people. That is horrible. And then vice versa, the women who were being the malicious doxers. So there's a double thing. It's horrible on both ends. But yeah, everyone's had a bad ex, right?
Hmm.
But to what point are you willing to spread uh mis or false information to basically hurt them, right?
Right.
That's when it gets wild, and mostly when it is on the wild side, right? When you're just starting to just basically do blatant lies, and that's where these issues come about. And then the user's base blurred lines between warning and so kind of going back to that, like yeah, like you were saying earlier, like the app in itself. Would younger you have used this app like to look up men's warnings?
I mean, you think about it, but how much of it's true then? You have to think about it. You hear all these bad ex stories, like, oh, they're just saying shit to just say things, right? I mean, I think we all have encountered some sort of story like that. Oh, I dated that girl, or I dated that guy, and
The
I've
word of
heard X,
mouth.
Y, and Z. The word of mouth. And you hear the word of mouth and you go, okay, well, how much of it's true? How much of it's made up? Uh, what part of that sentence is true and what part of that sentence is false? Or is it just a blurred line of situations like, oh, I misinterpreted that as like not a good, healthy relationship, blah, blah, blah. We all go through those phases where we weed out the bad, right? So, I mean, even though you could try and use an app to find the possible bad about this person, but it's like again, I just didn't know if it was all true or some of it true, or you know, if it had like documentation, like oh, this person X, Y, and Z, here's the police report, blah blah blah, that would have been like something more important, or protecting. But word of mouth or anything, you go, okay, is it how much of it's true? Again. Or is it just a misinterpretation? Or like if it was, like you were dating on the rebound. You've heard those stories. I was a rebound chick. So or the rebound, person and I got screwed over in the end, right? So
Understandable. Do you have any final thoughts on this whole debacle of this app? There
yeah.
seems to be a lot from a lot of different people. It definitely is a poorly mismanaged app, horrible privacy regulations. Even the app's terms of service tried to get away from any potential legal actions from the quote men who, if they were defamed, the app's like, oh, we don't take, we're not at fault. It's the women's fault. They are the one posting. So, so they're trying
That's
to hide their
terrible.
liability. Um,
Yeah.
which as a company you have to, right? Like, Like
Mm-hmm.
that's the other thing. But then also they're not holding any. The company's not holding any of the users, the quote the women's, for any verification of what they're posting. Right? They can just post whatever they want. Um,
Yeah.
and that kind of.
Okay. I think. Yeah, I think this is a crazy story. I don't, think of it, but at the same time, I totally get about women empowerment, but at the same time, you can't use and abuse things either. So,
All right. Well, we will end it there. So we have a video we're going to be watching. So, Liz, I have one question first. My first question to you: do you know what a VTuber is?
a VTuber,
A V
as in like V, like
V as
Victor,
Vendetta. Yes.
uh, uh
If you had to
no,
guess.
VR. I don't know.
You're close. You're close. I'll let you read the definition while I pull.
Okay. Uh, what is a VTuber? A VTuber, short for virtual YouTuber, is an online entertainer who uses a digital avatar, often anime style or otherwise cartoonish, to create content on streaming platforms. These avatars are typically animated in real time using motion tracking and face capture, allowing a real person behind the scenes to broadcast as a fictional character.
You can.
The
That's it. Yeah,
VTuber.
you can stop there. Basically, it's
Okay.
just someone using an avatar to present themselves. So we're going to be
Okay.
jumping into a discussion on an incident that happened to a huge VTuber agency, a whole like group of VTubers who worked under a company, what they have endured these last couple weeks, or actually this past week and a half, probably, and probably years. So first, let's start with the video, and we'll get deeper into this. Uh, the company we'll be talking about is VShojo, one of the biggest English VTuber agencies because they were mostly branched out in Japan, but this is the one that and this is their biggest and not only to say potentially one of the biggest uh VTubers out there, Ironmouse. And she has recently left VShojo. And this is why.
Joe. Unfortunately, I recently found out that for the past couple of months, I have been misled by VShojo. With the information that I currently have, I believe that I am owed a significant amount of funds, which I have not been paid. And most importantly, the thing that hurts me the most is that the Immune Deficiency Foundation, which is the most important charity to me, and also the reason why I'm here today, is owed over $500,000 from VShojo. I know that this is
What are your thoughts, Liz?
Over $500,000. Whoa. Whoa. Damn.
So yeah. So this is concerning a charity event that she did last year, where she was supposed, and she at that time she broke the all time subscriber record. Later, who she beat Kai Sinat with, and then Kai beat it later. But she at that time broke the all time sub record, earning close to over $500,000 for the charity, right? And she just announced that they have not paid the charity yet, and it's been close to a year. On top of that, she has not gotten apparently some revenue stuff. She has still not got paid, Liz. On top of that, so not only is there potential allegedly charity fraud, but also like pay loss, right? Or what is it? Wage mismanagement? I forget what it's
H
called.
losses.
Wage losses. And on top of that, it's a charity she is like very invested in because you potentially know what the what is it? The IDF. It's
Compromising?
it's in here. It's in the
But
let's see me
uh,
IDF. in here. And just Control F. F.
What is it? I can't do it on here, so.
There's a lot in this thing. The IDF. Immuno. Let me.
The Immune Deficiency Foundation, a nonprofit supporting people with immune disorders. Okay. She suffers from immunodeficiency herself, as long as supported the IDF.
So yeah, she herself has been suffering from I think it's on here. Yeah. So she herself has been suffering because she has an
immunodeficiency
herself. There's a specific one she has, but basically she's sick basically, and she was not able to go out. More so during these last few years, during the big pandemic. That was a big one for them. So that's why she kind of took the role as a VTuber. But let's continue with her story.
A lot, and it's very important for me to be honest with all of you. I really want to tell you everything, but unfortunately right now, I have been instructed by my attorney to wait for more of the legal procedure to unfold. So one day I will be able to tell you the full story. But for now, I just need to let you know that I will no longer be a part of VShojo. If you give me a moment of your time, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I know for a lot of people right now that this might be the first time you're ever watching me. I became a VTuber because I really wanted to make friends. I was very lonely due to the fact that I have a primary immune deficiency disease called CVID. I basically have a low to near non-functioning immune system, which means I get sick a lot, and it caused me to remain isolated for long periods of my life. So then I found streaming, and I thought about giving it a try because I wanted to see if I could make some friends online, because I honestly couldn't ever leave my room. I never really expected to grow an audience or anything. It was one of the last things on my mind. I just thought that I would stream to, 5 to 10 people and just hang out from time to time, make some friends, play games, and just continue on with my life. But unfortunately, I was too scared to stream with my face. I am leaving VShojo.
Oh, my bad. Where were we at? Right here?
I felt like every time I was struggling to make a decision, chronically ill, and being unable to me. I had no boss, no strict rules, because I felt like I just couldn't. 20 and asked to join VShojo, even make this a career. I think I really started to take it seriously.
Wait, where the?
It took me a while to take it seriously.
I don't know where you were.
That would allow me to use an anime avatar.
Okay. Anyways, we'll leave it there. So, she'll get a little bit into it. So a lot of people become VTubers because it's mostly females, just because it's easier to not get as much harassment, right? Because you're not using your personal identity, kind of a little bit what we were talking about earlier. And they use these models for a little bit anonymity, and because they just enjoy the thing. She'll explain a little bit more, but yeah, that's why a lot of people become VTubers, to just kind of make it a little bit easier on themselves. I kind of do something similar to Reaction Cast, where I just kind of have not really a VTuber, it's more like a PNG pic that I use for the videos, but it's still me, but it's just a pic, kind of like the kind of a game theory kind of style thing. I just wished it was more animated, but it is what it is. But let's continue. We'll leave it. Continue there.
To stream, and that's how I started VTubing. It took me a while to take it seriously, and even begin to think about maybe being able to grow a community and even make this a career. I think I really started to take it seriously around the time when I was approached to join VShojo, and it was through VShojo that I was able to grow into the Ironmouse that I am today. When I was approached in 2020 and asked to join VShojo, it seemed like a good idea, but I honestly did not know if I could ever be a corporal VTuber because I felt like I just couldn't. In my mind, I saw myself as unhireable, which is why streaming worked for me. I had no boss, no strict rules, I had no hours, no expectations. It was all up to me, and due to the fact that I have lived my life chronically ill and being unable to do much of anything, I just felt like there was no way that anyone would ever take me or want me. For a while, I was struggling to make a decision because I was afraid about my anonymity and afraid about trusting people because I felt like every time I put my trust in people, it always ends in grief for me. So I was worried.
After kind of hearing her story for the most part in a short burst, what do you think about that, and then kind of what led her to leave the company she, end up getting, working with to then now?
I think that's a great idea. I mean, especially somebody who suffers like that, that's a great way to, get and meet people, even though you're not showing who you physically are, which is understandable, I mean, but it's also that it's awesome, she was building community because she is the way she is. And that, it's we think about all these, people who are impaired, unable to do things, but they are capable of doing things. And I think that, they go through that life, a good chunk of their lives going, I can't do anything. I'm unable to do this because I'm handicapped in such an X, Y, and Z way, And I think, that's a great way to get out there. But that's kind of sad that she's got to leave too. But I understand why. And yeah, it's crazy though.
Worried about expectations and a million and one other things. But I ultimately decided to join VShojo. It really pains me that I am unable to fully explain why I am leaving.
Which makes sense. It's illegal stuff is happening. When it comes to these things, actually, after we're done with this, we're gonna be watching a legal mindset video where he goes over some of the things of the legal part of this stuff that he is able to kind of explain. So we'll be able to get some of that. So we can get more information. And trust me, this is like a big one. So we have a lot because a lot of things happen because of this one video, Liz. A lot has happened just because of this one.
Oh boy.
But for right now, here's what I am allowed to share with you. I would always be told how important I was for the company. And I was always told that I was needed in order for the company to succeed. Although that was very positive to hear, it put a lot of pressure and a lot of stress on me to the point where I felt guilt-tripped into signing. I felt responsible for everybody. I felt responsible for staff and talent alike. And I felt like if I didn't do this and if I didn't stay, I was hurting everybody and I was destroying everybody's life. But this didn't feel right.
That's really bad.
That sounds like gaslighting, man.
That's like really bad. Like emotional manipulation. No, like
Yes.
Like if you don't do
Yes,
this or that,
absolutely.
you're hurting the company. You're hurting all the other talents. Like we need you to do this because that's bad.
That's why I enslaved you away, Jesus. That's why you do this show every year. Continue to thrive on.
We're getting there. We're getting little by little.
I know.
Next thing you
I'm
know,
teasing you.
next time we know, we might be VTuber models just to make it easier on ourselves.
Right with me.
Who knows?
And I began to feel extremely uncomfortable. As my viewers know, privacy has always been one of my biggest concerns. I've had a lot of scary experiences in my life, So one amazing thing for me was the fact that VShojo handled all my payments, and it meant that I never had to give out any of my personal information. So that was always a blessing to me. As time
So let's kind of go back. Let me go back to this. So what an MCN? So these are so the agency she is part of that we're talking about is VShojo, right? So MCNs or multi-channel networks are basically organizations that partner with multiple content creators or channels to provide services that do like audience development, marketing, sponsors deals, monetization support, and usually exchange for a cut of the revenue. And they're in the VTuber realm. Agencies like Hololive, a Japan-based one, the one we're talking about, VShojo, are serve as comparable roles, using as recruiting talent, providing resources, and handling business operations. So that's kind of what she was doing. So she was kind of using them as a middleman, so she didn't have to give away her personal information because trying to stay anonymous. Because if say they got a copyright strike, so if we got a copyright strike on this video list, I would have to give out the information, my information to fight the lawsuit, so they would get my information, my name, my address, and all that stuff. Because it's a lawsuit, right? You need legal stuff, and for her, it would just go through the Sojo. So that is a reasonable reason to join these things, because it just goes through a company. So if I would get into any legal situation, it wouldn't go to me. It would go through the middleman, right? Which is understandable. That's reasonable if you're someone trying to keep your privacy, right? Any thoughts on this? Or
Yeah.
now the issue is a lot of MCMs historically have been really bad to creators, like stealing large amount of money, cutting creators from funds. So it's not unheard of to know that this company was stealing, but to the extent that we're about to find out is crazy. Because I've been following this story for a while, so I know kind of all the things we're about to talk about to a little bit. There's some stuff that just came out this morning that I haven't even found out yet. But historically, these types of agencies have never been very good to their creators, usually stealing a large portion of the money to, quote, help their creators. So let's just finish up this video.
went on, I decided that I wanted to try to start pulling out my remaining funds because I wanted to start taking over my own finances. This is what led me to this point. Throughout the years, Connor and I have raised around $4 million for the Immune Deficiency Foundation. The majority of the money raised is through Tiltify at events like the Cyclothon, the charity auction, and other miscellaneous events that we've had. However, because of the success of my first subathon, I decided to donate half the earnings of my following 2 subathons to the Immune Deficiency Foundation. The first time I tried this, it worked great. Over 200,000 people supported me, and because of that, we raised over $329,350 to the Immune Deficiency Foundation. Because the money came from my Twitch revenue instead of a Tiltify link, it required VShojo to make the donation on my behalf. They promptly sent the payment, and the subathon was a huge success, so I decided to do it again the next year. My last subathon was one of the biggest events I've ever done. The support was overwhelming, and I ended up getting over 300,000 subscribers and breaking the all-time sub record. But this also meant that we had raised $515,000 for the Immune Deficiency Foundation. I once again asked VShojo to make the donation on my behalf, but unfortunately, still a year later, VShojo has not paid the charity. The Immune Deficiency Foundation means the world to me. Connor and I have both spent a ton of energy, time, and resources raising money for charity, and we're both so proud to be able to say that we've raised nearly $4 million for charity. We almost always raise money for the Immune Deficiency Foundation. They help people with primary immune deficiency diseases, or PI, which are inherited disorders where a part of the body's immune system is missing or doesn't function properly, which makes people like me more prone to infection, and this includes over 450 different conditions. The Immune Deficiency Foundation is a charity that is near and dear to my heart, and has a particular significance in my life. When my health first started getting really bad, the Immune Deficiency Foundation helped me immensely when I really had nowhere else to turn. I was terrified, I was lonely, and I was confused. I honestly didn't really know what was going on, and I never ever want anyone else to go through that. This entire situation has broken me. I just wanted to do something good and to give back to a community that helped me. But unfortunately, that's not the case as much as.
Okay, we'll probably leave it there. So what are your thoughts on her situation? Just right now.
That's sad. That's sad. That's sad. You know, you think you're doing a great thing. You think you're doing a great thing. You believe wholeheartedly that this is a great company. They're helping you out. They're helping the foundation that you really, you know, supported for you because you had that, you know, disorder. And I just, damn, to be like misled. And you know, you think, you know, do you think that they're giving that money to those people?
Yeah, but you would
Nope.
think so because they did it the year before, right? Like, oh yeah, they donated before. They're gonna do it again. And yeah, it's so let's kind of get to the legal aspect of this. So give us 1 second, everyone, while I pull up that video.
The revelations by Ironmouse and many other of the talents at VShojo may very well end that VTubing company. Of course, I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney, and this is Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. This is an insane saga that really, it even peaks perhaps what is going down and what went down last year with Doki Bird and with Nichi Sanji, insofar as this is looking like it will end this VTubing company, VShojo, completely, and because we're seeing a massive.
So there was another controversy that we didn't talk about, not in this company, a different company. Like I said, at companies like this, they have a lot of creators. Something spicy is happening in the background. You know, something we just never know. But this one, it seems, spoiler, Liz, does lead to the end of the company.
Oh boy.
So we do have a response from the company. We'll be getting there, but yeah. So it legal wise, we'll find out some of the things. Like we already saw the video a little bit. The next video we'll be watching, the potential bankruptcy, which could lead to some very negative things to the talent, sadly.
Pool of talent that is looking to exodus from that company. Now, just understand this is a Fast Facts pre-recorded video, but I recorded this after listening to Case on stream, where she was interviewing with the Japanese quote-unquote branch, we'll talk about that, CEO. So we're going to go through all the facts today and really stick to the legal analysis. If you want to see the full version where I'm doing more, playing more video, I play all of Ironmouse's video and I play some other stuff as well. You check out my live version, but this is the abbreviated version for those that want to get just down to the facts. And of course, I've got a PowerPoint. So with this case, obviously it all started with the mouse. And there are two clear things that she dropped in her message that are legally relevant.
Okay.
First is that she has not been paid wages. So she's owed back wages. She's not been paid for a long time. And these payments that she's owed are in delinquency. They've been owed to her for a long time. She hasn't been paid. And this is something that has been mirrored by other talents. We now have talents such as Kason coming out and saying, I have not been paid for a long time. In fact, I believe she said September of last year, a very, very long time without payments, which is severe, which is significant. So there is an extended period of time with which people have not paid out to the talents. That's a massive, massive problem in and of itself. But the other great problem, and the problem that can have huge criminal liability, is the potential fraud related to the charity, related to the Immune Deficiency Foundation that Ironmouse has always been so vocal for, because it's the cause that represents research that would help people like her and give them a brighter future and hope. And it really was something that she was so invested in. And they decided to take $500,000 and not pay that out to charity. Whatever they did with that, it was not paid to charity. And that is a massive, massive issue. And that's an issue that can see people behind bars, that can have.
Thoughts, Liz?
Damn. I thought there was some. I just don't understand, why wouldn't you donate that money? That's a tax write-off every year. Tax write-off.
Well, there is a response list, but what are your thoughts? Just
That's crazy that, wow. People are gonna go to jail. I hope they're happy with that decision.
so, let's continue to see how much more we can
Criminal penalties, absolutely. Once again, these are our allegations at this point, but based on the number of talents speaking up, based on the number of talents that have removed the VShojo branding, we have to, at this point, assume there is some sort of substance behind these allegations. Of course, they are going to have to fight these out. They are going to have to prove this in court or prove this through the regulatory process. However, at this point, going forward and through the scope of this video, understand that I am taking the allegations as credible. For whatever argument you may make of they're not proven yet, whatever, I understand you, but we're going to take them as credible for the purpose of this analysis. So let's continue here. So we had obviously Ironmouse speak up, and then we had K-San get on with the JP CEO. Now this was very enlightening and actually.
So yeah, well, we're about to watch this clip. One of a different talent was talking to the JP branch of VShojo, like through a Discord call. And this is what they had to say.
Gives us more of the business side of what is going on at VShojo. It's very clear from this that VShojo is in financial hot water, that they were not profitable. And whatever the distinction was between JP and US, it's very important to note that there was no official legal distinction. That is an internal distinction, the same as a department, for example, saying HR or whatever else, right? Or janitorial staff. It's an internal distinction. It still fell under the control and is the legal responsibility of the headquarters in San Francisco. So the JP branch, as much as that might be a certain amount of talents that was managed by this quote unquote CEO, was not distinguished financially. So those funds that were coming in were being slushed together. So whatever profit JP was making was not offsetting clearly the losses they were taking on the US side or with their other talents. So as a whole, it seems they were in financial dire straits. Now, one big thing that was brought up during this was that the staff was paid and not the talent. There is a very important reason for that, which we're going to get into, which is all of the talents are designated, and this is for almost all VTubing companies. I have not seen one contract, and I've reviewed all of them, including the VShojo contract, Nijisanji, HoloLive, Vector, all the greatest hits from big to small, Face Connect. I've seen all of them. I haven't seen a single contract that has said these people are employees. We consider them employees. They all try to make them independent contractors. That's very important because when it comes to
all right, let him finish.
To fighting wages and paying wages, you have to pay employees under labor law, whether it's US law, Japanese law, really all around the world, you've got to pay out those wages. But when it comes to independent contractors, well, you can shaft them and then they've got to come and sue you or bring an action against you or a claim against you to try to get those back. It puts a massive burden on them to claim those amounts of money. Now,
what are your thoughts, Liz? What do you think of this?
Steady. That's Sly Dog. That's Sly. Shitty Sly. I get it, Oh yeah, well, you're an independent contractor. I just gave you a slot in my company, but not an employee.
And the thing is, like you said, he's seen all these. This is not a VShojo problem. This is a multi-company problem. Like this is not too surprising. That's kind of this is the world these people live in, Liz. This has been happening forever, or since the start of the internet, big internet rise. Basically, these are just their contractors. So this is nothing new. It's how these companies have worked. But then, what are you thinking? You were like thinking hard for a second.
Yeah. I'd be disgruntled too. Like, yeah, I think we've heard this story, like in other ways, like people not getting paid. I mean, yeah. Oh, we're part of this company. Oh, but you're an independent contractor. Sucker. And we've seen it. It still happens to this day, even on the bigger corporations. And, oh, you're an independent contractor. You're an independent business. I mean, one of the ride shares I use, they make you an independent business. Because it's your business. You're running it.
Exactly. And it makes you liable. It makes you responsible to try to basically fight for what's yours, basically. So let's see what more Legal Mindset has to say.
I have, since the Niji Sanji crisis, been screaming from the top of the hills that this is BS. And I'll put some money in the swear jar for that one. These people are employees. Whether you consider them full-time or part-time employees, they are under the control and authority of these VTubing companies. Now, I understand that there was a lot more anonymity at VShojo than other companies, but you might consider them in that case more like a part-time employee than a full-time employee that's completely controlled by the company. And in that case, they would still be owed wages under a normal analysis. And mind you, just because a contract says that you are an independent contractor does not mean that a particular state or country might not look at the situation, might not look at all the factors and say, under our law, we're going to consider them an employee. It's very important. And I do think in the VTubing industry going forward, this is a massive lesson that all VTubing talent should be considered employees. They should push for being employees. They should say, no, I'm an employee if I'm going to work for your company because you need to pay me and you need to be liable if you do not pay me. And
yeah, so if you're gonna sign a contract or something, you gotta like, I'm an employee. Like, you are to pay me. Like, that's the other thing. A lot of these people, when they're starting out, they're pretty naive. They don't know anything of the industry or anything. So they're just signing contracts. And we're gonna be diving in deep into some of the things because some of the other talent has been revealing some stuff to the point where like some parents of the talents had to sign NDAs themselves so they couldn't say anything. That's how crazy stuff was. Like, to get your parent to sign legal paperwork saying you can't say anything. Like, it gets wild. We are just opening the can of worms and it's gonna burst.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord.
I don't think the Japanese...
And actually, this is let me find the document has when it first started. The video that just came out, the Ironmouse video we watched, came out July 21st, Liz. So 5 days
for the showing. Oh gosh.
So just start. So yeah, we have the timeline. You see the timeline?
Yep. July 11th, then July 21st, then July 22nd.
We have a lot to get through. So we're trying to rush through it, but it's I think it's important to talk about just because of everything that involves it, right? It's right now we're dealing with charity fraud, wage losses. What else do we have currently, Liz? What else do we have in here? What else?
I don't know. You've been the one following this, not me.
No, currently.
Yeah,
what you learned so far? What have you learned?
They're not treating their employees well. No.
Contracted talent.
Emotional package.
That too. So let's continue.
CEO, listening to him, is the villain here. He's clearly not at the top of the rung. He's not the CEO or CFO or COO or CTO. He's at a lower rung of responsibility. He certainly cannot make shots for the entire company. That was not his responsibility. And certainly, by the way, none of the talents are liable for this. This is something where they are the victims and they do deserve your support and your appreciation. And I will say this about all of them, Ironmouse, Keisan, Henya, everybody, Mitsubishi, everybody, they do deserve your support and love in this time. And also your understanding that they can't say the things that I can say because they're under a different level of scrutiny. Now, I do hope with some right legal maneuvers, they can finally speak up. And we're going to talk about that today in the way they may be able to speak up. But right now, understand and be patient with them. They need to work with their lawyers in their jurisdiction or in perhaps California, which is a jurisdiction for VShojo, where I think is very ripe to bring suits and claims, etc. They need to work with their own lawyers to get this done. So be patient with them to get to that point where they will be able to speak. I do believe that time is going to come sooner than later. So let's continue with this. The best quote I think from this is "Talent first, my ass." That was probably the best Keisan quote out there, period. And I love Keisan. I'm definitely a fan. So one important thing here is that VShojo is an American company. Now we've covered Niji Sanji, we've covered Cover Corporation, big Japanese corporations. And one issue with those corporations is they're Japanese. And if the talent is American or Canadian or really non-Japanese at all, it's really, really difficult to come at those companies. This is not the problem for VShojo. VShojo is an American company, and they're an American company headquartered in one of the states with the most strong consumer protections out there, or strong worker protections, employee protections that are very, very broad out there in all the United States. So this is a massive difference. And especially since many of the talents, particularly Ironmouse being a American citizen, right? Puerto Rico, still a citizen of the United States, and still able to bring claims, fully able to bring claims in California court, particularly related to labor. This is something where it is ripe for conflict, ripe for either a lawsuit, criminal filings, regulatory filings, because they are in America. And this is why I say they are sunk. This is why I say this is not an Niji-Sanji situation. This is not an any color. This is not a Hololive situation, whatever else. And in those situations with Niji-Sanji, I told everybody, hey, when Doki Bird went down, this is not going to be the end of Niji-Sanji by any stretch. Same thing when there's bumps in the road with Hololive, right? When Gura leaves, it's not going to be the end of Hololive. However, this will be the end of VShojo. This is,
and he predicted that right. Let's go back to the document, Liz, a little bit to kind of go on to the next day. We'll fast forward a little bit here. So I'll let you read July 22nd, kind of what happened after that.
Okay, July 22nd, 4 days ago, was airing. In the immediate aftermath of Ironmouse revelations, VShojo faces a mass talent exodus. Nearly all remaining VShojo affiliation VTubers announced a resignation from the agency within the next 24 to 48 hours. On July 22nd alone, multiple prominent members publicly cut ties with VShojo. Project Melody, another founding member, tweets that she has left the company. Kason, a high-profile Japanese-American VTuber who has joined VShojo in 2022, tells her same audience that she's quitting the agency effective end of the month and supports Ironmouse decision.
Wait, just go to the next one.
Kason also, and Haruko Hariba.
Karubo? No, Karubo? I think it's Karubo.
I don't know.
Karubo.
Joined in 2020, and Himi Hami founding members and Amy Lee, who joined as Monarch in early 2025, each post statements by the day's end that they have terminated their contractors to resign from VShojo. From VShojo's recent launch, JP branch talents Michi
Mochimuchivi, and then Kuronai.
VShojo's first male VTubers joined late 2023. Also announced on July 22nd, they have left the company.
Okay, so as you can see, within the next 24 to 48, based on the next couple days, everyone left. Liz, all their talent left. And then I'll continue reading a little bit further, then we'll continue. Meanwhile, former VShojo members who had left the past chimed in on their support for Ironmouse and their own troubling accounts. Notably, Vebe, a popular VTuber who departed VShojo in April in 2023, publishing a lengthy statement describing her negative experience with the agency. She claims that when her contract was up for renewal, VShojo management tried to bully her into signing a predatory new contract, became hostile when she raised questions. Bebe also reveals that she is still awaiting payment for certain sponsorship deals she completed under VShojo tenure, leading to credency to the allegations of withheld earnings. So a lot of people basically, and let's see, 2023 more people leave. 12 in the span of in the span of 2 days, 12 of the 13 creators quit the agency. Let's see, anything else important before we continue, because in 2024 there's the announcement. Anything else in 2023 that you want to read that's important?
July 23rd or
2023 or 23rd, yeah. Anything else in there, or then you?
And just nope.
Okay, here, I'll let you. So on the 24th, at the time of the recording, 2 days ago, the company and the CEO made a statement. Justin Gunrun Ignacio issued a official public statement addressing the controversy. I have sent you the link. I sent you the tweet, Liz. I'll let you read that
that tweet. VShojo has failed and mismanaged the company and the situation you're all witnessing. So today I'm sharing the difficult news that VShojo is shutting down, and I take full responsibility for the decisions that led to this point. I've been doing everything I can to fundraise and right the ship that past few months, but despite my efforts, we are in a worse position, and those I care about now are paying the price. Over the past few years, we raised around $11 million to pursue a bold, talent-first approach into YouTubing, prioritizing new creators and community over short-term profits to achieve long-term sustainability. Our funding went directly to our creators through generous splits. Yeah, splits, sorry. Debut investments, infrastructure, concerts, events, and staffing, all designed to support them. We also wanted to own their IP, which we knew was a unique. Wait, hold on.
Unique creator first approach for an agency.
However, despite our efforts, the business failed to generate the revenue we needed to sustain the model, and eventually we ran out of money.
Okay, let's stop there for a sec. Let's stop there for a sec.
Okay.
Let's stop there. So it sounds like they knew they made around $11 million in the last couple years, and it sounds like they were doing a lot of like. Here, give us 1 second, everyone. I think he explains it the best. Give me a second. Here. Confesses to crimes.
Period of time. Of course, I'm Andrew Esquire. This is a legal mindset where we teach you to be your own judge. And this is a fast facts premiere giving you the short, quick summary version of what's going on today. Now, VShojo is in massive hot water. And I told you guys days ago that this was going to lead to insolvency. This was going to lead down the road to bankruptcy. And we have today a confirmation, and I was entirely right. They are going to go absolutely bank, right? It's done. They're in the red. They've got mass amounts of debt. They're not profitable. They weren't profitable even with everybody there. There's no way to get back to profitability. They are done. And this has more severe consequences than just losing your Twitch emojis, which happened today on Twitch. The gun run global emote is gone, but they have a lot bigger problems than losing cute emotes. So we're going to look at the statement by the gun run and why this statement is absolutely insane, why it's a confession, and also why it doesn't get anybody out of personal liability, why they're still going to be held liable regardless of this statement. This statement doesn't move the yard line, doesn't shift anything really that far because this statement is only a confession and does not remove any liability of him as CEO or even personal liability, which is very, very clear in this when you look at the factual situation. So let's read through the statement very, very carefully, and then I'm going to analyze it after we go through it. So here's a statement from VShojo. This is on their X account, so you can go over and read that yourself. And you know, this is obviously unedited, etc. So I'm going to read this. VShojo has failed, and I've mismanaged the company into the situation you're all witnessing. So today I am sharing the difficult news that VShojo is shutting down, and I take full responsibility for the decisions that led us to this point. I've been
kind of, let's see.
doing everything
We just read that.
Or this is some sort of selling cookies or whatever.
Okay.
Fundraise. When he says fundraise, a lot of people may think that's a bake sale. Or this is some sort of selling cookies or whatever else. No, this is begging for money. He's talking about loans. So fundraising, he is talking about loans. He's talking about trying to borrow to keep the company going. Let's be very clear about that. So, and right the ship these past few months. I'm going to stop there as well. Months? No, this thing has been having a problem for over a year. This is a thing they've been in financial hot waters for a very long time. This is not something that happened yesterday. It's not something that happened last month. This has been going on for a significant period of time. But despite my efforts, we're in a worse position. And those I care about now are paying the price. Over the past few years, we raised around $11 million to pursue a bold, talent-first approach in VTubing, prioritizing creators and community over short-term profits to achieve long-term sustainability. I can't even imagine how he wrote that with a straight face, given what's happening right now. I cannot believe he sat out and wrote that. Oh, this is what we wanted to do. This is what we're doing. No, you completely and utterly failed on that consistently over the long term. Over the long term, you abused and gaslit your talent. Over the long term into non-sustainability. You spent your money on wild advertising in Shibuya and everywhere else, just going out and trying to promote and advertise, spending money you didn't have to try to push these talents in places that wouldn't help them. You weren't giving them what they needed. What they needed was a paycheck, the gun run, not some weird station advertising. Okay, let's continue here. Our funding went directly to creators through generous splits, to view investments, infrastructure, concerts, events, and staffing, all designed to support them. No, that didn't actually happen. We also wanted our talent to own the IP, which we knew was a unique creator-first approach for an agency. Now, that did happen. To credit where credit is due, the talents do own the IP. I've read the contract. That's true. However, despite all of our efforts, the business failed to generate the revenue we needed to sustain that model, and we ran out of money. Additionally, I acknowledge that some of the money, now here we go, here's the confession. Some I acknowledge, so I am saying this happened. Some of the money spent by the company was raised in connection with talent activity. So he is confessing to the fact that they diverted funds which were intended to pay their talents, and they're calling them talents, by the way, because if they call them employees, they'll be screwed under labor law. They're using the language specifically talent because they know that they're trying to frame talents, independent contractor, we're gonna get out of that. So they owed money to the talents and they spent it. They misallocated it. And then he goes on to say, so some of the money spent by the company, so saying it was spent by the company, right, misallocated, was raised in connection with talent activity, which I later learned, keyword he put in later learned. The words later learned are him trying to get off the hook personally. He said, I later learned was intended for a charitable initiative. He is trying, what he's trying to do here is say, oh, I didn't have personal knowledge of where the money was going in my company. You know, dollars come in, dollars go out. I don't know anything that's going on. I had no idea, no knowledge that this money.
What are your thoughts, Liz? Well, I've been trying to
He's
get
not
more
taking
information.
any responsibility. He's trying to deflect the responsibility. I didn't know. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, the feigning. That's so. That's bullshit. You knew. You knew.
What do you think of that's the leader of this company? That's who this is. Remember, Justin Gunrun is the CEO and the one of the co-founders of this company, and he's saying all this. Oh, what are your thoughts on all?
He should have shut the fuck up before he even opened his mouth. He should have just left it simply. I'm sorry. It's effectively made or it's ended. Period. That's it.
Okay.
Anything else? I think he should have asked for legal advice at this one. He's got himself in legal trouble.
All right, let's see how much more we can.
They should have gone to a charitable initiative. We just got a massive amount of money. We just got $500,000, and it just slipped through the cracks. That's like a couple pennies just falling in the couch. In no world does this hold up under any sort of investigation. Even the most cursory investigation, you need to know where $500,000 goes. This is not 250. This is not 350. This is $500,000 that just poof went somewhere. And as the CEO, you certainly have the responsibility to understand the major financial operations of your company. And yes, there's other officers that are on the line here. I know I can hear Tectone in the background skipping up. It's not just the gun run. Yes, okay, chill, Tectone, chill, bro. We all respect you, but you got to calm down. Of course, there's other people that manage the finances.
Yeah, there's like, we forget that there's other people that have mismanaged it. There's a lot of people, and a lot of shady stuff, Liz, that allegedly happens still. This is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I have a few tweets where I'll be reading from some of the other stuff before we kind of get to the final video that we'll be watching with League Mindset. I think we're done with this video. We kind of get the gist of it. We've got a confession. Surprisingly, we're gonna go a little bit back and kind of go. We're gonna go and we'll read the two things. So this is a statement from one of a member, not a member of VShojo, but someone who interacted with one of the potential companies. We kind of guessed who, because it's been a fallout. And I'll let you read this tweet. As Liz.
Okay. This person moved from noted VTuber company to another as as a staff last year, bragging about his new income. He thrusted me a few of his new business cards to give to my new good contacts. Quote unquote. I found the action obnoxiously rude, but maybe he was too young and friendly to know better.
Okay, I read the whole thing.
That is the whole thing.
No, that's not the whole thing. Did you open it?
Well, that's all I got. Oh. Then the MF wanted to meet up for tax advice because I'm native in Japan and I hired an accountant. I asked to have dinner in his area, which is quite far from me, put in the bill. The day I got convinced I didn't like that guy. Yeah, because I love the talents he worked with, I only secretly hoping he would lose his job one day. Recently, I heard from another creator that he was showing photos of VTubers' real selves while revealing their personal info like marital info statue. I wanted to find a way to warn other employees. Today, I learned that the most despicable shit at the company has done to their talent. Don't know if he's involved with it, yet all my personal grudges get nothing compared to such betrayal. Sometimes, unfortunately, managers or agencies can be the talent's worst enemy because they always support the talent first.
And that's a tweet from Kaho Shibuya. So yeah, like there was a member of the staff who was giving away the identity, allegedly giving an identity, like real identity. Remember, these were people who were using VTubing as a way to stay anonymous. So imagine if one of your agent or your manager is like, oh yeah, giving away a picture of the real you, Liz, and your name, your marital status, your personal information, basically. And
I'd be pissed. Like I trusted you. You told me all about anonymity, blah blah blah, walk away.
all right, I just sent you the
It's
tweet
crazy.
from Vebe or Vey now, of the whole of her whole thing.
And so our
Actually,
NDAs are now void.
give us 1 second, everyone, before so we can read this, so we can see our faces a little bit better.
Bay said, and our NDAs are now void. Why I left for VShojo. Back in 2023, VShojo tried to bowl me into one of those most predatory contracts that I have ever seen. And when I tried to ask them more about it, their COO got extremely hostile with me and refused to answer any of my questions. And so I had to hire a lawyer in order to get some clarification. During the talks, it became clear that VShojo would rather let me go than take less away from me. They were ultimately wanting me to give up more than half of my sponsored revenue and over 60% of all my merch sales. All I asked them in return is to not take a cut of the sponsors that I was getting through my Mythic. As that cut was already been taken, they said no, they want it all, and so I asked to leave after being treated like I was disposable in our talks. They basically made it seem like they were my employer and that they were the reason for success, that I owe them and I should be happy to give them my money.
Okay, let's stop there. So
In order
yeah, let's stop there. So they were asking to take over half her money, Liz, basically. So imagine if your company said, "No, we'll take half your cut."
That's crazy.
Like it makes sense for an agency who's like bringing you work and stuff like that, sponsors and things, and taking a cut, right? And that's what it should be like. We don't know really, but what would you guess would be a reasonable cut?
20%.
20, yeah, 20,
30,
30,
40.
yeah. That's kind of right. But 60% of the cut or half of
That's
it
crazy.
from Mercer and more on top of sponsors that are brought from a different agency. Like what are your thoughts when this is the practices that were being held at this company? What are your thoughts?
That's crazy. That's crazy. Like this. How do you make an income then, huh? You literally don't make an income. They're just trying to take them for their money, basically.
All right, I'll let you continue.
In order for me to leave, they demanded I sign an NDA that prevented me from speaking to any other talent about it. I could not say why I was leaving. could not say what the terms were that I was saying no to were. I even got in trouble for advising them to hire their own attorneys. They would watch my stream, record my Discord, read my Discord, and then threaten to sue me if I said anything that hinted towards how I really felt about the company. I was threatened with a lawsuit.
Ooh, that's
Another
a way
one
to
of their
silence.
leads.
That's a very strong way to silence someone. Like, yeah, I'm gonna sue you.
Yeah, right. Oh,
Like,
that's crazy.
so, well, what are your thoughts when that's kind of the way to silence someone?
That is not a good sign. That is a bad sign. That's terrible. That's shitty.
All right, continue.
Another one of their leave terms was that they will announce both me and the silver on the same day in order to minimize the damage to the company. The CEO has begun to push for a narrative on 4chan. Yes, I'm serious. I laughed my ass off. And other social media that I'm leaving because I plan to join OTK, and that both me and the Silver Veil are troublemakers, so they are letting us go, quote unquote. Later I found out that the Niners wanted to leave around the same time due to also being unhappy with the contract, but also was told that she couldn't because it did not fit their narrative that they were pushing internally and externally. The amount of hate we've gotten over leaving, from fans calling us greedy bitches to people saying we were abandoning our friends and tossing aside the company because we were successful enough, shit was fucking painful. Not being able to say anything sucked.
Okay, we'll leave it there. So, what does that tell you? What does that statement tell you, Liz?
The harassment was real, man. The harassment, the shitty way of saying that they're going.
Yeah, basically they internally and externally. It sounds like they were creating a narrative saying they were leaving because they were not good to work with. Like, so it was Bebe, Silvervale, and Nanners, and they were trying to get it to make so the company still looks good, but behind the scenes, and going back to 4chan, Liz, what we were talking about earlier, the CEO apparently, allegedly, was making it seem like they were just like horrible people to work with, and that's why we're getting rid of them. They're joining other companies, which was never the case. And then making it sound like they were making it like, oh, they're the bad ones, basically making them the villains. So what are your thoughts when just hearing this? This is how this company was trying to, as they were trying to just leave. This was the story that was being painted to people, and they couldn't say anything legally. Like, they couldn't say anything.
They were deflecting. They were just deflecting off them. They were just saying, "Oh, we're the good guys. We're not the bad guys." Blah blah blah. But, ultimately they were the bad guys. So they were just, "Oh, we're gonna paint ourselves in the lighter light, and you guys in the darker dark." And that's really shitty. And I think that is horrible on so many levels.
Because imagine if you got fired, you were getting let go from your work, and behind the scenes, you were the reason the boss let you go was, and behind your back they were telling you, oh yeah, that person was just a shitty person. She just never did her work, or just a horrible person to work with, and that's how you were left. And so if they ever saw you out there, like, why would they interact with you? Because you were just a, like, what did that instill in you?
That told me that I was working for a shitty company in general. And the fact that they were treating their employees so shitty and whatnot, and the fact they wanted to paint themselves in a better light, which is not the truth. And that,
Remember, Liz, they're not employees, they're
made me happy.
talents.
I know, but that sucks still. I mean, they were being treated like employees at that point. You know, you don't go through all that extreme if they're just talents. Oh, I would have to say, hey, if it was me, it'd be like, oh, the talents decided they wanted to pursue other careers, and we congratulate them and move on. You don't tell them like they're shitty employees, but if they're not employees and they're talents, then
Well, they were calling
leave it as
them.
is.
They're just calling them shitty people at that point. Like,
Yeah, but I wouldn't.
all right, I'll let you read the next two because there's a few little things.
I
You'll know
only
when
found
to
out
stop.
I didn't get paid. Huh?
You'll know when to stop.
Okay. This I only
I only
found
found
out I
out.
was not. I only found out I didn't get paid for any of my sponsors after I was already signed the NDA. After 2 years, I still had not been paid back fully. To add insult to injury, they also demanded I pay them back 10K for some of their anniversary assets, which, when they sent me back months ago, were half finished. Despite all that, I have an immense faith that the company have gotten better over the past 2 years. I assume they rewrote the contract after losing 3 people due to them and seeing the all new talent join. Clearly, that was not the case.
So she still hasn't been paid after 2 years, Liz. 2 years. So this is 2 years in the making. So she left back in 2023. And she still couldn't say anything these past couple years. She still couldn't say anything. She couldn't say her word. Or speak her truth, basically. On top of that, apparently they made her pay back money. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you would,
You know they're
and
floundering.
yeah, and on top of that, during those 2 years, they were getting new talent, and you would think, okay, she would hope things will get better, right? But that wasn't the case. So, Liz, do you want to read some of the fun facts they have?
Sure. The company lawyer had expired law license. He literally does not law anymore. Yet he was our point of contact for any legal help we needed. They actively pitted us against each other during my time there and compared our success to others. They tried enforcing streaming schedules so that our view count would look better due to less overlap. They also shit talk about other VTuber agencies. They literally would spend company money to get a tiny dig at them, especially HoloLive. It literally lived rent-free in Gunrun's head. They were convinced HoloLive was over when they signed Kason and Nazuna. Our previous silent agent got ghosted for 6 months by Gunrun, told not to do any work for us, and they got fired for not doing anything. During this fiasco, we weren't able to get any assistance. MTD got reprimanded for being creepy to us, lol. Got told not to message us privately, go figure. I have proof that other streamers attending the IRL parties that MTV would actually shit talk me after I left the company to paint me in the worst light imaginable. Don't know why you're acting innocent on Twitter pretending you weren't aware of anything. You can't wait to see all of the shit that comes out about you because there are loads about those who aren't my stories to tell. Thanks for reading, and thanks for those who stuck around from then and now. Thank you for giving me silver and Nyan to benefit of the doubt when we needed it the most.
What are your thoughts hearing all the fun facts?
That's crazy. That is cray. I mean, it's all. As soon as they said that their NDAs are void, whoops, it's gonna hit the fan.
Yeah. So we don't. It's still a whole thing right now. And that we're kind of watching, right? But definitely the company is right. We know that. So we're gonna watch this final video.
I don't know. It might be halfway into the sinkhole now at this point, or maybe just a little.
Liz, remember,
out.
Liz. I told you we're just at the tip of the iceberg right now. Like we're probably we're probably scaling down. We're probably almost about to hit the water so we can see the iceberg. Because that what we just read was Vay's kind of statement, and that's what's been happening in the background that she's able to speak about. Imagine what other stories the other 12, 13 members have to say. Because of what they were saying, like because of some of the things that they were trying to here, let's see here. One, they had apparently they had allegedly an expired law licensed lawyer. So a lawyer who couldn't practice being law. That's one way to do all that.
Yeah.
Hitting them against each other. I understand competition, but to the point where it's the detriment to their quote talent employees. That's crazy. Then what was this? MD got reprimanded for being creepy to. Got told not to do messages privacy. Go figure. Kind of double. We're getting
I
shit
don't know who
talking.
they are. You tell me, bro.
There's a lot. Liz, there's a whole company. There's a lot of players, so there's a lot of names. I know a couple of them have left months ago that maybe still might be reprimanded, even though you left months ago. They could still be held liable because they were still with the company during the time. That's the thing. Imagine if you're like, yeah, I left 6 months ago, so I'm not part of the company, so I can't get, I can't be liable for anything. No, you were there during the time you were going to be held responsible. I don't know who MD. Oh, Legal Mindset's in the comments.
I didn't see it. No.
Yeah, I was scrolling down and he's down there. Shout out to Legal Minds. His videos have been helping us right now on the lawyer side, because yeah, it's like there's a lot of drama happening. Definitely a lot of actual
I can't
real.
see the comments. That's right.
Okay, that's fine. He just put in a few words he said. But yeah, okay, let's finish up this with the meltdown continues from Legal Mindset.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Worse for the VShojo meltdown continues as things get worse for the VTubing company. Of course, the Legal Mindset, we teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney. That's a fast facts version. Now, this is going to be a not so fast facts version because I was having some internet troubles. I don't know really what it was. I thought it was my streaming software. I thought it was OBS, but it's probably a connection issue for tonight. So while I get that sorted, I'm going to do this one. It will be a little longer than normal because I've got a lot of stuff I need to cover. Some things I have covered, some things I haven't covered. And we're going to get to those today on this kind of extended fast facts version. Please leave a comment and like below. And I do apologize for those that attended the lives and weren't able to see that because, well, my connection wasn't working. So sorry, guys. I love you and appreciate you. But as of course, as always, we have a PowerPoint. So let's get through this PowerPoint on the death of VShojo. So starting out with, of course, the best meme out of this with Case on here. We've got Justin the Gun Run Ignacio. Now he made an official statement, which I did a separate video on, but I had some additional stuff now that I've simmered down a bit and thought about it. Another thing I wanted to mention about this statement, and as before, I said this is a confession. This is admitting to criminal activity. This in no way removes him from culpability. His attempt to say this was something that he quote unquote later learned does not get him out of it. And also all the proof shows he knew about this. And he was actively fundraising for Ironmouse during this. We have photos of that. We have proof of that. And he even sent out a congratulations. So him trying to ostrich this is absolutely ridiculous. And he is, of course, as the CEO, responsible for everything in the company, right? At the ultimate, the buck stops at the top, right? That's why you get paid the big paycheck, because you have the big risk, right? So at the top of the food chain, you have the highest risk and the highest reward. If your company is super successful, you can become a Bezos or Elon Musk, etc., right? But if it fails, you can be an Enron, right? And you can be that guy. So that's the risk of CEOs. That's why you take on that burden, and that can ruin you as a personal brand, as an individual CEO, if you are at the head of a company. And now this guy, the Gun Run, is going to be bearing that for the rest of his life. Now, does that mean the responsibility stops with him? Listen up, Tech Town. No, it does not. Of course it doesn't. But he still is responsible as well. So Gun Run is on the line, and others are too. And what was really funny is, like rats off the ship, we have this guy over here, Mutendo, who immediately, this is a guy who quit 2 months ago-ish, and he's trying to say, nah bro, what the absolute F at the Gun Run, pretending as if he didn't know. This thing was going on for a year almost, and likely even longer, but at least a year, right? We've got proof that it may be much longer than a year, but certainly when he was there. So yes, he knew about this. This was not a secret. In fact, we're going to show this recently revealed pitch deck that actually shows that this guy would 100% have been there at the time in which this was going down. So trying to pretend that he didn't know this absolutely does not. And further, it wouldn't get him off from being deposed, from being investigated for his portion, his contribution to this, because certainly this guy knew something. So I mean, he's got to they've got to figure out, okay, what did this guy know? What did he not know? What part of this would he be culpable for or not culpable for? Because there's something that this guy likely did know. And, they were looking at these projections, which, here's part of the pitch deck here in my PowerPoint, and then we'll go over a summary that's been provided on X. You've got a forecast from October 2024, which
The data, Liz. What are your thoughts just
Always
before we?
there.
So what are your thoughts just before we kind of get deeper into kind of the fallout that's been happening here, of what you learned before we get into kind of the whole thing, the that they are still liable, the whole situation, all those things, just so we learned.
Trickle down effect, right?
Yeah.
It affects everybody. It's a trickle down effect, right? So it's, yeah, CEO, highest reward, highest risk, but it goes down the chain, goes down the chain.
What do you hope happens to some of the bad actors?
Bad, company, the whole 9 yards, because some of these talents deserve, needed some help and they needed money to come through, and here they are, struggling, and then they back to square one where they were originally for some of them, probably. So
yeah, because for the most part, a lot of them who left, some of their audience stayed with them, definitely, but like, remember what Vay said, a lot of them were bad mouthing them, so a lot of them were losing connections, because on streaming or YouTube or anything online, connections are key, right? Who
right, the same thing, I think. Yeah, exactly. I think it's the same thing in real life too, right? It's like the people is the people you want to stay in touch with, so you can get the next X, Y, and Z,
and
next
then if
job,
you're
the next
and if you're being
That's the same thing in,
say if you're getting what is the word, slandered, basically, by the company that you used to work for. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't work with that person, they are X, Y, and Z bad. It just makes sense that you won't have those connections, have that collab, and yeah, it's just shitty. But let's find out what the legal ramifications might be, and then we can talk kind of the social aspects, and then kind of close this off.
Which already wasn't looking good, right? The forecast was already looking not good even in October of 2024. But then you see in January, and this is based on Addison, who got this information over here on X. And I am taking this at its face value. So understanding that, of course, any information can be proven to be not credible, etc. But let's take this at face value because it matches up with concurrent testimony and concurrent reports and pretty much the consistent reports of the talent. So at this point, I am going to take this at face value. So based on what Addison says here, Wifey and I got access to a recent VShojo pitch deck, and some of the stuff is really interesting. TLDR describes Gunrun as the most well-connected Twitch staff. That is very interesting. Lost $2.5 million in 2024. What that shows to me is a level of financial negligence that is pretty insane. And I understand that businesses are supposed to lose money the first couple years, but this business has been going since 2020, right? At some point, you have to start making calls to cut back. And I'm sorry, as an adult, and once again, as a CEO, and this guy is not a child, he's not a kid, he's an adult, you need to make adult business decisions. What does that mean? Scaling back on advertising and marketing. What does that mean? Scaling back on some large events. What does that mean? Cutting back staff. If you have staff that need to be trimmed, they've got to be trimmed. What does that mean? Renegotiating splits if you have to, and then maybe you'd have to lose contracts over that, right? Or changing terms, etc. And understanding that you led people in with a unsustainable model. And I understand that they wanted to have this model that was, the talents first, and we're going to do all this for them. But that wasn't the reality of how a business could.
Yeah, I could see that. It makes sense. A business is not going to be profit on the beginning, right? It makes sense that you'll be taking a loss the first few years until you kind of get running, right? You gotta take a couple steps too, which makes sense. And it's definitely is true. You have to let some things go if things aren't working out. You kind of have to find things to make it work at the end. If it's sadly, losing employees or losing talent or cutting back on all that stuff, it makes sense, right? But it seems like that wasn't what they were trying to do. They didn't want to keep running. They wanted to keep running while they were losing money, right? They just wanted to, they thought eventually they would be able to eventually make that profit. And in the long run, in the current run, they were just so behind in money because from what we heard earlier with legal, they were probably taking out loans and they were trying to pay them off with the money, not paying the talent. And they probably were at that the gambler fallacy. Eventually, will make it big to pay back everyone, right? And they just never did.
Never hit the gamble. They got no gamble. They lost talent. And lose talent.
Well,
Lose
they lost everyone.
profits.
They lost everyone at this point. So they lost the gamble. They lost the gamble.
Operate, and they certainly were not able to operate that way for whatever reason. And we don't know exactly how their finances split out. We don't know where that money was funneling, who was getting what. I'm really curious to get those balance sheets and show exactly where they were allocating their money. And based on some reports, and I know that CDOG VA did this, it seems like they might have been over budgeting on advertising and marketing, like in Shinjuku Station, when they should have been focusing on paying for the talents and paying the talents at all. So there's probably some misallocation of funds. We don't know yet whether there was any true theft of funds. So we do not know yet whether they were taking the funds for a completely wildly illegitimate purpose outside the business, for example, for personal gain, for buying a yacht, for buying a Ferrari, a Lamborghini. We also don't know
imagine if that's what it was.
Executives. Were they taking a haircut? Were the executive officers taking a haircut at a time in which they were not paying out their contracts?
What would you think, Liz? That was where the money was going for personal expenses.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. We've heard this story before, right?
True.
Oh, they got a nice new car. They got a nice new house. I heard about this bank across the seas. Like
that is true. That is not.
But I feel like it's not a far-fetched idea. I think it's happening, whether we know it or not.
So yeah, after hearing all these allegations, all these statements, this wouldn't be too surprising. Like, oh yeah, he was using the funds to buy a new house or something, right? Like that would not be out of the question.
Extravagant vacations or something. I don't know.
Dude,
I wouldn't be surprised.
At this point, right?
That's what I want to know. And I have a sneaking suspicion that they were not. But we'll see. So even with aggressive growth, they'd still not turn a profit. Even with aggressive growth. And that's unrealistic, right? This includes plans to license out IP. What IP? See, that's the thing. They don't own the IP. So the only way they could do that is if they renegotiated the contracts to take the IP away from the talents, to remove the IP from the talents. The only way to license out IP under those contracts would be to get the permission of the talents to license out that IP. Now, a license can be terminated at any time, right? A license is not a sale, but still, that's a lot. And that is a very interesting element there with regarding the IP that they were planning to perhaps restrict or renegotiate the contracts as it relates to IP. So uses the fact they raised $1 million for charity to attract investment. Unable to confirm if it's the $500K, it probably is. 10 managers, 10 talent managers, their salaries are included within the cost of goods sold. Once again, there's been a lot of accountants, and shout out to all the accountants that are out there that have said this is ridiculous. Why? And I'm not an accountant, but I've read a lot of budgets, particularly corporate and government budgets. Why would you do that? That doesn't make sense to me, right? 20 to 30 employees, claims IP posts. Now, once again, I don't know whether that's way too much, but they probably had some folks that they could look into saying, hey, look, we're not doing well. We need to work on our budget. And frankly, when times are tough, you do have to cut back and you do have to say, hey, some staff has got to go, right? Who do we have here that we can remove without hurting the talents? And from what I've heard with the from the talents in general is that the support just wasn't really there. They weren't getting that support. So what are the talent managers and employees doing? They were not fully supporting the talent as far as the reports I've heard go. Now, I could hear elsewise, but we'll see. Claims IP licensing will bring in $2.1 million with nothing to back up that number. That's completely speculative. The reason why they use that number is because they're trying to plug a hole here. They're trying to say, well, this is our magic bullet that's going to save us. Initially contained IRL photos of VShojo talent, which we redacted. They were straight up doxing the talent from this. That's really to me.
And that kind of gives reverence to what we just read with Kaho's statement on Twitter, that someone was doing that. And this kind of is like a second point of reference, right? So that, you start getting points on a line, eventually you're gonna like, yeah, that happened, right? A picture is gonna get drawn. So this gives more credit to Kaho's statement. Not that I didn't not believe her, it's just all personal statement, but this gives more credibility to her statement because of that, right? Like they were trying to, and once again, it's like taking people's IPs and stuff like that, because VShojo was one of those few agencies, I think maybe one of the only, I'm not 100% sure there, but one of the agencies where, like, we'll just take Ironmouse for an example. She owned the Ironmouse brand. So if she left, she would still keep the Ironmouse character, her name, and everything. A lot of other VTuber agencies, when you're working with them, they give you your name, they give you your model. So if you ever to leave, you would have to make a new identity altogether, basically. So for him saying this, so for just so you have a little bit more context, Liz, for them saying that they were gonna license out IP, it was basically like, hey, we're gonna use your image for, like, you're gonna be on a cereal box, like we're using your image to make money from you. More ways to take money from you, unless it's like he said, different contracts or like. So it's another way to quote potentially. I'm gonna say in quotes, steal their images or IPs, in my opinion. Knowing that, what are your thoughts?
But that's a word, right? This like stealing. I know there's a specific word for it. I like can't think of it right now, but yeah, just like when utilizing somebody else's image, it's copywriting, right? Copywriting, is that the word?
Yeah, intellectual property. Yeah, they're intellectual property. Basically, they're taking their intellectual property.
They're
copyright.
And so they're basically stealing A, money, B, utilizing without your permission. So,
yep.
To me, that part of the story is absolutely nuts, and this is the part where, I just think the story keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and the picture that it's painting is of a corporation that just fully was neglecting their clients for a delusion, for essentially a delusion. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Oh, does he have the same mic as me? I just realized that.
Let's pull up some of the slides just so we get through that, because I just want to show you guys that some of the stuff here. Okay, so obviously you've got hold on, we got here. You've got some financial projections here, which we showed already.
Yeah, okay.
VShojo, once again, this is January. So that executive that left 2 months ago is not going to get out of what was public knowledge in 2025. They're losing money, right? So you have the financial projections there, right? And I believe here we go. I had this post here. There were doxes of talents here. Doxing Nova. Crazy stuff.
Oh, so they had their images on their slideshow? Holy shit.
All the stuff they're going to do, which once again, don't really know it's going to happen in their projections. Not looking good at all. So really crazy stuff coming out of that. And thank you for Addison for getting that information and for putting that together, because I think that's a big element in this story. Okay. So the next thing we have is the Vebe kind of letting go of all of our information. Now, this is a big one to go through, and I may even
I think we just
we'll have to maybe even do a separate comment on this, because maybe people
we just talked about this a little bit. Let's see what he has to say.
Vebe now essentially took the position that the NDAs are void. Now, to be very clear, and I made this comment on another video, each talent needs to talk with their lawyers if their lawyer is confident with them going out and speaking out. I can't tell them. However,
that's just regular good advice, right? If in any legal situation, and if you're a public figure, which we're minor public figures, we are online, we have made statements, right? So we are held liable to our words and what we say. But definitely, if any legal recourse does come, talking to a lawyer is the first thing to do. Don't come out and just say anything, because a lot of content creators have come out and said something that before they even talk to a lawyer, because Liz, I think there's a whole nother thing we can start season 8 with. That's been happening for the past 2 years. That is
Oh boy.
wild. So that's another thing that we can talk about. But that's I think that might be our start for season 8 because that one is wild. But
All right.
going back, definitely talking to a lawyer to make sure what you can and can't say, what statements are able, because yeah, like we were just reading with Vebe's post, like she probably ran it through a lawyer, but and she said what she could say, right? But yeah, definitely, probably legal mindset's gonna make it more clear, but making sure you are not incriminating yourself or putting yourself in more liability is definitely more important, right? Mostly in huge cases which like these.
My general opinion is at this point, the gun run said they're insolvent. So the gun run said they have no money. So with what money are they going to pay a bunch of lawyers to go chase down and enforce NDAs? I think it's highly unlikely. However, that risk is not for me to take for the talent. The talent is the one to choose, hey, am I going to risk that Gun Run is going to use his personal money to go sue everybody? Because he might. We don't know. We don't know what's going to go on with that. Some people are very litigious. And as we're going to see from Bebe's story here, which does check out, is that VShojo was very litigious, and they were absolutely using threats of lawsuits to intimidate people. Lawsuits that perhaps they couldn't. We just talked about that, and they would definitely lose if it came to a fight. But they were threatening to drain the talents because they know that they've got more money than the talents. So in a general legal battle, yes, they might lose on the law, but in the money, in the procedure, in the hey, we can draw this out and make this annoying for you, they might be able to win or at least scare them and intimidate them. So
that's the other part when it comes to like these business types of like lawsuits. It's like the smaller person's always going to lose. I mean, the smaller person's always going to lose in the long run, even though if they're right, because they will lose in the game of money, right? That's what sucks, right? Like you might be right in the end of the day by the word of law, but the big companies are going to win in the long term because they're going to try to draw you out until you have no more money, which sucks, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, these threats of lawsuits is sometimes like, I don't want a lawsuit, right? Because we just can't afford it. That's kind of always going to be, which sucks, right? Which sucks.
So let's get into this with the Vebe story here. So saying why I left. Back in 2023, VShojo tried to bully me into one of the most predatory contracts I'd ever seen. Now, I will say this. The version of the VShojo contract that I saw is not as predatory as Niji Sanji, but it wasn't good, right? And now a lot of people have asked me to release that. I will not, because the person asked me to not do that, and I do respect confidentiality, particularly as an attorney. So that will not be happening. However, it was not great. We'll put it that way. So when I tried to ask more about it, their CEO got extremely hostile with me and refused to answer any questions. So I had to hire a lawyer in order to get some clarification. So that's very normal. You are fully allowed to hire a lawyer of your own. There's nothing wrong with that. During the talks, it became clear that VShojo would rather let me go than take less from me, which is very true. They usually will try to treat you like dirt, so they make you sign the contract they want and they don't negotiate it. They were ultimately wanting me to give up more than half of all my sponsor revenue and over 60% of the merch sales. All I asked for them in return is not to take a cut of the sponsors I was getting through Mythic, as that cut was already taken. They said no. They wanted it all. And so I asked to leave after being treated like I was disposable in their talks. They basically made it seem like they were my employer. This is the big point, guys. They are acting like employers. This is why I think labor law needs to apply to them as employers because of their behavior, because of their control, because their structure, because their predatory nature. I think that the regulatory bodies need to look at this and say, this is not the way you behave with an independent contractor. You behave this way, employee and employer.
Going back to what you said, like
I told you.
Legal mindset has your back there. How do you feel after legal mindset said that?
I felt that vindicated. Thank you very much. Exactly what I said.
Sure. And this is spot on from Vebe. And they're the reason for my success. And I owe them, and I should be happy to give them my money. In order for me to leave, they demanded I sign an NDA that prevented me from speaking to any other talent about it. Here's the thing. If you're an independent contractor, particularly, they can't prevent you from leaving. And if, under US law, you can just say bye. There should be no way They can
Oh, that's good
prevent
to
you
know.
from leaving. What they probably did, and this is probably something that was added on here, was say, we're not going to pay you unless you sign an NDA, or we're not going to pay out your last payments, et cetera, or whatever we owe you unless you sign an NDA. Maybe they did that. But by the way, what is that in terms of additional consideration? Whenever you have an additional contract or something else, there should be something else given, exchanged in response. What are they giving you for that? If they wanted you to sign an NDA, they should have already made you sign it in the beginning, right? They're making you sign an additional NDA. No, sorry, you're not going to sign that. You don't have to sign that. You're not obligated to sign that. Now, they can threaten you all they want, but if they're going to go to court, okay, they're going to try to sue you and say, oh, they didn't sign an extra NDA. And the judge is going to say they didn't have to. There's no obligation for them to sign an additional NDA. They can just say, screw you, VShojo, and walk. And for talents,
That's good to know that that's an additional contract to the thing before. No, we are taking his word as an attorney as word. So anything you, just like we said before, get an attorney, hire an attorney for more legal clarification. We are taking legal mindsets for his word right now, but that is good to know. Since his videos are, to kind of make us think like a lawyer to an extent. But that's, if they have no right for you to hold you back, and it sounds like they don't have to make you sign an NDA as you're leaving, unless it wasn't prior to part of your original contract. That's interesting.
out there that are in corporations that are trying to make them do this, what you need to ask them is, what are you going to give me for it? And if it's, well, we're going to pay you what we owe you, that's not good enough. You already owe that money. You already legally owe that money. If they're saying, oh, we're going to withhold your last paycheck, no, you need to pay me that money. That's money you owe me. That's not something extra. That's something special. Give me something extra. If you want me to sign an NDA, you better grease the wheels. And maybe they'll pay you some money, or give you some cut or a bonus or something else for signing an NDA. And if that's something you're happy with, then okay. If you're not, don't sign the NDA. But this is extraordinarily predatory. Extraordinarily predatory. I cannot say why I was leaving. I cannot say what the terms that I was saying no to were. I even got in trouble for advising them to hire their own attorneys, because you know what? They didn't even have a real attorney. They had an unlicensed attorney. Yes, that's right. This is something that's come out with Silvervale and other places. They had an unlicensed attorney, an attorney that their bar had license had expired. Now, some corporations do this. In fact, I worked at a large corporation that had 30 lawyers, and 2 of them did have expired licenses.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, a lot of the work that those lawyers with expired licenses were doing was not what I would call formal practice of law. They were doing a lot of like document review and some sort of like document filing, et cetera, stuff like that. They're more like paralegals that were attorneys. And of course, paralegals are not lawyers, right? But they still do work that contributes to the legal field, right? They still work at law firms.
Okay, good to know.
So they were doing more paralegal type work, which generally is fine. Or if you're doing more business type work, that's fine. So a lot of lawyers that are no longer actively practicing, they don't keep their bar license up, they're still in business. I mean, lawyers can do other things. Lawyers can, do whatever they want to do. They're free people. So that is not surprising totally, but it's dangerous. The other big thing is with attorneys that have expired licenses that are no longer licensed to practice, they no longer have attorney-client privilege. So anything you say to them as a corporation, right? So let's say you're talking to your quote-unquote attorney, but they're not a real attorney. They don't have a license. Well, then there's no attorney-client privilege. And that's one reason why, or at least personally, I try to keep my license up, because attorney-client privilege is one of the most awesome things ever to be able to engage, because it's practically impossible to break. It's essentially impossible to break attorney-client privilege once that's engaged. So that's a pretty awesome part about being a lawyer.
Ooh,
and
good
you
to
lose
know.
that within the corporation if you have an unlicensed lawyer. So that's a little fun fact there. They would watch my streams, read my Discord, and threaten to sue me. And if I said anything that hinted towards how I felt about the company, I was threatened with a lawsuit. This is really predatory. Extremely predatory.
Yeah, we agreed on that.
Another one of their leave terms was that they announced both me and Silver on the same day in order to minimize the damage to their company. The CEO began to push the narrative on 4chan. And yes, I'm serious. Another social media that I'm leaving because I plan to join OTK, and that both me and Silvervale are troublemakers, so they were letting us go. Later, I found that Nyaners wanted to leave around the same time due to also being unhappy with the contract, but was told that she couldn't because it would not fit the narrative they were pushing internally and externally. The amount of hate we've gotten over leaving, from fans calling us greedy biatches to people saying we're abandoning our friends and tossing aside the company because we're successful enough, shit was effing painful. Not being able to say anything sucked. I only found out I didn't get paid for any of my sponsors after I'd signed the NDA. After 2 years, I'd still not got paid. So literally, look, I mean, to be honest, that was probably why she signed the NDA in the first place, to be paid, and then she didn't even get paid. So she should have been like, hey, I'm going to speak up and break this NDA because you broke your payment terms. See, this is when you got to get an attorney involved, because this should not have gone 2 years. And this should have been remedied before 2 years. This was...
So just like we talked earlier, how do you feel like If you didn't get paid for 4 months of work, Liz, how would you feel? Like,
Yeah, I'd be suing the hell out of them. I wouldn't even wait that 2 years. Okay, it gets to 6 months. Come on, cough it up.
yeah, because definitely there it's weird for some of these for online businesses because there's they do what do they call them? Like they do like a 30, a 90, no 30, a 60, and a 90, where they pay people in those periods because of how income comes in through different sponsorship, through streams and YouTube, all that stuff, because money comes out. It's weird. So a company will pay you like 30 days or 60 days later or 90 days. But 2 years later, nah.
This is not okay. And this is the problem with VTubing, is that these companies prey upon people that have limited resources and also limited knowledge of the legal system. And this is a huge abuse here. So if you are not being paid, and it's been 6 months or 3 months or 9 months or a year or 2 years, you need to speak to an attorney, please, a local attorney that specializes in labor law in the place where you are. To add insult to injury, they also demanded I pay them back $10K for some anniversary assets where they'd sent me months later, which were half finished. Despite all of that, I've had immense faith that the company had gotten better over the past 2 years. I've assumed they rewrote their contracts after losing 3 people due to them seeing all the new talent join. This was clearly not the case. Nope. Now some fun facts. Their company lawyer had an expired law license. He literally does not practice law. Yet he was the point of contact for any legal help we needed. This is dangerous. This is dangerous because once again, there's no attorney-client privilege. Speaking to this lawyer, it's not a lawyer. I mean, it's not an attorney, right? They do not have a bar license. So that's a big deal. They actively pitted us against another during our time there, and compared to the success of others, they tried to enforce streaming schedules so our view count will look better due to less overlap. They would always talk smack about other VTuber agencies. They literally would spend company money to get a tiny dig at them, especially HoloLive. And if this is where we find out they spent their money to try to, they literally spent company funds to dig on HoloLive, this will be insane. It was literally lived rent-free in Gunrun's head. They were convinced HoloLive was over when they signed Kson and Nazuna. Once again, you know, HoloLive and Niji Sanji Anycolor are not going over or not going under for one bump in the road. Yes, they'll have some hiccups. Yes, they'll have some stops, but they're big enough and they're public companies, so they're capitalized at a much higher level than Gunrun, right? And VShojo. Our previous talent manager got ghosted for 6 months by Gunrun, told not to do any work for us, and then got fired for not doing anything. During this fiasco, we weren't able to get any advice. That's crazy. This guy does seem very unstable. MTD got reprimanded for being creepy to us. Got told not to message us privately. I mean, this one, I want to know more details on.
Yeah,
because this sounds like workplace, perhaps sexual harassment.
Like we were trying to figure out what that was about.
Or gender discrimination. What was going on there? I mean, because that might be a criminal claim or a labor claim of its own, depending on what happened. We don't know. I mean, that's hinting like creepy. What does that mean? So that one is a question mark. I have proof from other streamers attending IRL parties that MTD would actively smack talk me after I left the company to paint me in the worst light imaginable. Don't know why you're acting innocent on Twitter, pretending you weren't aware of anything. That's a lie. Obviously, this guy knew, and he's lying through his teeth. According to the pitch deck in January, he knew. Can't wait to see that's come out about you, because there's loads that aren't my stories to tell, and that is what I want to hear. So this is very interesting. This is the first person to break the NDA. But as I said, and I said this before, you guys remember, I said, just you wait. It'll all come out. Be patient. And it is now coming out. It is now 100% coming out. Some other stuff that we're going to go over here on the PowerPoint, right? And this is other.
Okay, I think we'll finish that there. Give us 1 second, everyone. So what are your thoughts, Liz, on this whole debacle?
That's crazy. That is for sure. We're gonna see. I think there's gonna be more shit that came to light. You said there's some other stuff that just came to light too. So I think there should have been a 3-episoder. This is a lot of information to process.
And this is only the last few days, Liz. Remember, this Ironmouse video came back on the 20th.
It's gonna keep unraveling. I feel like, and we're gonna still have more.
I think, I think we're gonna, and we'll definitely wait until more of it, because they was one of the first to quote break their NDA. And there are still other members who have not said anything yet, so we'll see. And Ironmouse
they're probably waiting for their lawyer's advice, right?
Yeah. So I'm going through their to kind of go over. Some good news, Liz, though. Some good news out of all this. Like I said, back when Ironmouse posted her video. She left a link to the Tiltify. We'll be doing that as well. And so as of recently, they have raised over $1 million to the the Immunodeficiency Foundation in the last couple days. So
Yes.
the IDF, basically, yeah. So they have raised over $1 million, and it's probably going to keep going.
That's
so
awesome.
there is some positivity that has come from all this debacle. So hopefully they'll get that other $500,000. Let's hope so. But with the bankruptcy, they might not get nothing at all. So
Right.
or no one will get nothing. None of their back paid. How'd you know that, Liz? All that money lost and gone. Like, so
Nobody won. Nobody won.
well, no. At least the Immunodeficiency Foundation, the IDF, was able to get something out of it.
They won.
Well, we'll see what more. So kind of go over the last couple days, we're gonna go over the main allegations. And so some of the things that are on here were some withheld charity funds, unpaid earnings to talents, lack of transparency and misrepresentation, exploitative contracts and pressure tactics, general mismanagement, and possible embezzlement. So yeah, there's been a lot of things. That's kind of what we were. That's a lot. We've talked this is our longest episode, but it's our finale, and the biggest topic literally that just happened these last few days, and it's the talk of the town. A lot of things are gonna probably get unveiled in the next couple weeks, months, probably years. We probably won't be talking about it unless something big happens, right? Something crazy happens. It's probably going to be simmering in the back. Because we have another big one that I think season 8 will start out, because that one probably is going to be a huge episode too. But what are your final thoughts, Liz? Kind of hearing the whole story of Ironmouse, all the other talents, how this company has all the legal stuff that Legal Mindset has informed us about. What are your thoughts here?
It's a lot. It definitely a lot of information, and I hope something good comes out of it. I hope that the towns get paid and the company gets financially, or I mean, it is in financial ruin. So let's say that people who put it there get the brunt of the shit they did to the company. So, including Gun Run.
The head, yep. The main guy,
Yeah,
yeah.
the head for sure.
The head definitely, trying to say, I didn't know any of this was happening. Whoop-de-doo, whoop-de-doo.
Right.
And anyone who left the company during that time to try to evade some of this stuff, I hope justice is basically served. I hope legal justice, because as much as the court of public opinion goes, some of them are socially gone, but definitely some legal actions hopefully occur. I think that's the best way we're gonna send it. Like I said, I'll be putting the Tiltify link down in the description below if you would like to donate to the IDF. And I hope the best for all the talents. Support them. Do not ask them about anything, because they can only legally say what they can, right? And hopefully, if you're a small creator, and you're being offered a contract from an MCN, be careful. Get a lawyer to read through those contracts, because they can be very malicious, very predatory. And look into the company, because you might not even get paid. Become an employee, not a contractor. Right, Liz?
True that.
All right, Liz, do you have any final words?
No. But thank you for listening to us the last 7 years, if you've been sticking with us for that long.
Oh.
And here's plenty more, right?
Plenty more. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Anything aboard after 93 can't cook. All they know is McDonald's charge their phony hot chip and lie. But amidst the chaos, we'll find a way to hook onto hope and truth under the wire. get to change with faith and love amidst the circus and the noise. Jesus and Liz, navigating life's bizarre joys.